hi everybody. Here I have David Dunham. He's one of our members of, or one of our editors at AI Construction News, and now we have him on a special occasion or of some other type, but it's also regarding AI in construction. He basically developed a software called StrawBoss, an AI-driven construction safety management. And right now I have him here in order to tell us more about his product, what he sees, what's his vision, and what the StrawBoss can do to help the safety management in the construction industry. So yeah, hi David, nice to have you here. Maybe a first question would be, or some kind of motivation for you. So, what problem in construction safety management originally pushed you to start building StrawBoss AI?
The problem for me, I've been in the health and safety field for 15 years, and I've been in construction my entire career. And the problem that I saw within health and safety is it's getting increasingly driven by documentation and paperwork. And there's a growing gap between the documents that we create and and how we use the data that we gather in those documents and how the work is performed. So with StrawBoss, I wanted to create a tool that makes document and data gathering simple and easy, and then makes using and evaluating and analyzing that data equally easy for the supervisors, the managers, and the people who are working basically back in the office at their computers.
Yes, and you also describe it's like a EHS native AI system. So yeah, that basically it means like I mean, maybe you can describe it a bit better. I mean, you know all the different problems in construction, data silos and everything, information exchange, information loss, blah blah blah. So your primary goal was to build like a EHS native platform, right?
Yeah, I was starting to work with a lot with Claude Code and Claude Cowork. And as I noticed, these systems became increasingly powerful because of the harnesses that were built around them. I realized that that same powerful harness, if it was applied in a very narrow, in a narrow way to my industry, to health and safety, could be helpful for people in my position that work in safety. Getting people to learn how to use Claude Cowork is surprisingly more difficult than I thought. So why not give them a curated experience that gathers the data they're already getting, the safety information from the field, but essentially create that agentic harness over top of it. So they don't have to figure out how to use another piece of, they don't have to figure out how to work with Cowork. They can work within the system that's gathering their health and safety data.
Yeah, and one of the most interesting ideas that you mentioned is like creating an agentic workflow that should behave like a mid-level safety professional. Can you maybe like explain what that looks like operationally or on a construction site?
Yeah, so the best example it would be one of the features that we have within StrawBoss, and it many people in health and safety will be familiar with complying with or having to meet and maintain certifications through different standards organizations. Locally in Canada, we have industry safety associations that manage these standards, but there's international standards as well that companies pursue and get certifications for. Typically, a safety manager would sort of monitor the performance of the company and make sure that they're prepared for any audits that are coming and doing any of the required tasks that are required to maintain that certification. Well, because StrawBoss is a container for your health and safety programs and your documents, and because it's got continuous information coming in through the inputs of field level workers, it's able to monitor how you're doing with relation to that standard in real time. So we have something that's called we have various auditor dashboards that you can log into, and it'll give you a score. StrawBoss will present a score, which is an estimate of if an auditor were to come tomorrow, how likely would you be to pass? And it's doing that by taking information from the field. It's looking at the hazard assessments that have been completed. It's looking at how you're investigating incidents. It's looking at your meeting, your safety meetings and your meeting minutes, and it's running inference on those things. AI is running inference on those things and measuring them against the standard, and then giving you a score. So there's sort of an agentic workflow within that, which is taking a lot of the work, that manual labor that the safety manager, or sometimes for smaller companies, the employer would do, and automating it and presenting it to you in a clear way.
Yes, and also I think you answered it partially, but let's elaborate it a bit further. So, how does the platform adapt to different jurisdictions, regulations, like local requirements regarding health and safety?
Yeah, so when a user signs up for StrawBoss, they select where they are. We're in a pilot stage right now, so we've focused on Canada and the U.S. Jurisdictionally, but it's easy enough to expand that. So if you're a user in the United States, you select your state, and you tell StrawBoss that, and it actually, the platform has a connection to OSHA regulation, and it's able to pull up the most recent regulation through an API, and then it ingests that, and it takes that, and it vectorizes that and puts it in a RAG database. And so it's always got that, sort of in its database, along with all of your other data, all of your other company health and safety data, and it can run inference against those things. And so just like a chatbot, if you were to give it a copy of your health and safety regulation, you can ask it questions. So there's nothing super unique there, but it does help with a lot of health and safety software isn't jurisdictionally specific. So you might, going back to the standards that I was talking about, you might be complying with your ISO standard, but forgetting about key pieces of the regulation. So we try to balance those two things, and StrawBoss will alert you if it sees a detail in your hazard assessments or a detail in one of your incidents. It might say, hey, StrawBoss noticed that there's a regulation that applies to this hazard that you observed. Were you aware of that? And you can do with that what you want.
Yes, and also a level of customization. So, how do you also structure the ad to understand some maybe companies' internal safety policies, like procedures, operational workflows? Do you have like some sort of a file or like a window where you can upload your own like company context, or how do you customize it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's within the application itself, there's a file system where you can upload basically any file you want. But the idea would be to upload your safety management system and any associated documents with that are associated with that. And StrawBoss indexes all of those files, and then it becomes content and context for any prompts that you use within the AI assistant, which we call StrawBoss. So there's a icon on the screen that you can just click on and talk to StrawBoss about any of the data that's been indexed. And where the real magic happens is we have built into it a number of skills, safety professional skills and tools that you can then use in that within that AI assistant to produce those safety documents, resources, training materials that you need on the job site. And the real benefit to having that AI agentic layer in there is that they become super specific and context specific to your operation. It's no longer sort of a generic piece of material that you could just prompt ChatGPT about. It's something that's very specific about the work you're doing today.
Yes, yes. Can you maybe like walk us through a real workflow example from start to finish. Maybe if you have some demo or something, it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, live demos are always a little bit, risky, but I'll try. I'll show you, I'm going to share my screen. So currently we've got a progressive web app. So this is what the end user would see on their cell phone if they're out on the site. I just want to confirm, you can see my screen? Okay. So it is offline capable, so they can pull up the app, and we just see a user interface here that shows any open action items and the recent activity of that user. So in this case, they've had a few, they've completed a few hazard IDs, and then we can see if that user's been assigned any projects. So these are projects that have been entered by the administrator on the back end side. Very easy to do. And I wanted to keep the interface for the user very straightforward and simple, and have that information input step be as simple as possible. So I'm not sure how this will work on an iPhone simulator, but I'm going to try to click on this Talk to StrawBoss, and then I'll show you how it would work if you were to enter a hazard identification.
Is it only like iOS mobile app, or?
It's a progressive web app. So when the admin is online on the dashboard, they can send everybody a link to the progressive web app, and then you just save that to your home screen on your phone, and it just looks like an app. And on an Android device, it behaves just like an app. On an iPhone, it does as well, but there are some limitations on iPhone with offline storage. So we're working on a proper, like on a dedicated iOS app. So yeah, if I was a worker and I saw, a broken guardrail on a construction site and my employer wanted me to report that sort of thing, I could simply just tap this icon. Oh, they're getting some sort of error there. Just 1 second here. No, I think it's because we're on the simulator, but we can see what happened here. So for some reason, there's this test dialog here, but StrawBoss answers in a text form, "Hey, I'm here to log a hazard you've spotted on a job site. Which project is it for?" The user can then select a project. We could say, "I saw a broken guardrail on the second floor." Oh, this is messing up. I won't show the whole demo, but so there's that aspect of it, and then once the user submits their report, that gets sent to the dashboard, and then and it's stored in the company's data store. And so these are previous ones that I've uploaded during tests. They're just data tables that you can filter and sort. But the nice thing is that the admin also has this option to talk to StrawBoss about any of their data. So if you click on this link, the microphone's working here, you can ask about data. You could say, "Hey, StrawBoss, tell me about the last 7 incident reports that we've had." And StrawBoss will look upon the indexed information, and it'll pull the incident reports and then provide links to them. And you could go and open the full record, proceed with an incident investigation, and do that sort of thing. So I mentioned, and just interrupt me if you want to ask any questions, but I mentioned the auditor readiness estimates. So in where I live, there's something called the Certificate of Recognition, or the core estimate, or the core audit, and it's an audit that has a structured format, and that information is available publicly online. So I took the audit scoring information and created a dashboard out of it. And so because StrawBoss has insight into your company documents, it's able to come up with, what are the best ways you could do to help improve your score to get that passing score when the auditor comes?
Yeah, it also lists you like guidelines.
Totally. Yeah, it gives you guidelines, and even what another exciting feature of it is, it not only tells you what's sort of lacking, but it also says, hey, you know what? When the auditor comes, they're going to do worker interviews and they're going to ask about orientations. If you're not confident that your supervisors and your workers know about that topic, why don't we just draft a toolbox talk, like a little pre-work meeting? So if we click on that feature, we're taken to the AI assistant that has a number of tools built into it that the user can simply just they can hit the pre-generated prompt, and then StrawBoss is going to sort of ask a few extra questions. We might just go to the smart defaults on this one, and StrawBoss should go off and generate a toolbox talk, in this case on incident reporting and investigation.
Great stuff. Yeah, and how does maybe as you're showing, how are you like approaching maybe AI hallucination risks or incorrect compliance recommendations in like some safety critical workflows?
Well, what we're trying to do is stay away from making recommendations about how to do the work and how to assess the risks. We'll provide guidance, but the tools that we provide the tools that we provide derive their answers from the context that has been gathered and provided by the user or the regulation. However, if the large language models are ever unsure about a detail, they're told to leave it out. So, for example, there's a tool that we've developed that creates a particular type of hazard assessment for entering confined spaces. And that document, if the user only provides, a page of field notes and a couple photos, that's all you're going to get in that document. And you can keep iterating on it and add to it. But the large language model isn't going to just make any assumptions and put that information in there for you.
Yeah, so it basically works. I don't know if you tried Notebook LM only like with files that you actually upload.
Yeah, exactly. It works. It works exactly like Notebook LM. So we take the same approach where we use retrieval augmented generation, and the answers provided, like you saw in the message there where I was talking to StrawBoss, the answers provided are grounded in sources that you can trace back to the root.
Yeah, so that's maybe also like a guardrail or a workflow that you keep in order to humans or the experts to review or validate some AI generated outputs. It's quick and easy, like just like in Notebook LM, you press, I don't know, one or two reference and then it opens the PDF with and it highlights the text from which it pulled the data, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we wanted that observability of knowing where the information came from was super important in designing something that people are going to be used for health and safety on the job site.
Yes, you also mentioned that the platform is already being piloted with the real business. So, what has been like the biggest lesson that you have from like early development? Have you like encountered some problems, issues? Have you pivoted to some other direction or?
Yeah, I'm lucky that the pilot is a smaller organization, and I work closely with the safety manager on any issues that arise. I think like any pilot like this, there definitely are issues that you need to work through. I would say the biggest lesson is that I've learned so far is just onboarding and the detail and the process that's needed just to get people familiar generally with a platform, with a new platform. But also there's many steps to that. because StrawBoss is focused on two parts of the organization, the field level workers plus the safety managers and administrators. You have to do two sets of onboarding. So you have to go into the field and talk to workers and show them how to use the app. And we think we've made that very simple, and it's been received well in the field. But on the safety administration side, we really want people to get the full benefit of StrawBoss. So we've had to spend more time familiarizing some people with the set of AI features that are available to them.
Yes, and maybe looking down the future, how do you see AI changing the role of safety manager or EHS professionals over the next few years? Do you see like a more hybrid workflow, AI completely taking over, or what's your perspective?
I think it's clear. Well, I shouldn't say it's clear, but I think one thing that I've noticed is the quality of the outputs. If you use the right models in the right agentic harness with the right context, is really good, and it's it's in the top 90 percentile of safety professional outputs. Does that mean you can trust it all the time? No, you still have to check it. You still have to make sure that it's accurate. So what I'm seeing is the aspects of the safety professional's job that are purely computer-based, purely paperwork-based, will be made very, very easy for them to do should they adopt a technology like this. What that means, I think, is that safety professionals will need to strengthen aspects of their job that they generally appreciate more than sitting at a computer and slogging away. And those aspects are the going out, talking to people, learning about how work is done, learning about any challenges that they're facing in the workplace. And then they can go back and work within an agentic system that can help them generate unique and creative solutions to those problems. So I actually think that if we're thoughtful and intentional about how we deploy AI, it can provide us more opportunities to do those things about the job, or do those things in our profession that we actually love, which is getting to know the organization and its people.
Yes, and yes, I completely agree. And that leads me to my, probably my last question. So we all know that construction is a very much a traditional industry. It's, yeah, with agriculture, it's on the lowest part of the list when it comes to digitalization. So maybe a question, looking ahead, how do you see like a digital transformation in the construction industry play out, or how do you see both the companies, the company processes, the people, engineers, everybody? So how does the AI native safety department look in the future? Maybe in your opinion, what needs to be done?
I think what needs to be done is, and we've tried to do this with StrawBoss. We're entering the organization through a traditional channel, what's become a traditional channel, which is, a digitized version of safety forms. And there's many companies that do this. We enter through that same channel, and then we layer on the agentic AI layer in a way that is not cumbersome. It's easy and it's intuitive for the user. So by doing that, we don't make them they're adopting a technology that they're accustomed to, a type of technology that they're accustomed to working with. So the safety team in the age of AI really becomes they become those people within your organization who are looking at what are the high quality pieces of data that we need to bring into the organization. What are the conversations that we need to facilitate, out in the field, so that we can bring in that data and then use agentic AI to analyze it and provide insights for us so we can make better decisions going forward. So we go from people who are, designing checklists to people who are designing data funnels. And one example of this is a feature we're working on, which is simply to have just simply to have support for unstructured data. So we might imagine that a supervisor walking around the site just simply is wearing, an AI transcriber. There's many products on the market that work quite well in noisy environments. They could click a button. They could just say some voice notes through an MCP server that communicates to StrawBoss and gets stored somewhere. And those notes, that unstructured data, can then get processed and structured and used for data analysis in a number of ways. So it really opens up the opportunities for people to go out and say, what's the information we need to help us make better decisions?
Yes, it all comes down to information, and the goal is not to disrupt already established processes, but just to modernize it with high quality data.
Yeah, and reduce the friction, because every time you ask somebody to fill out a form, you've designed not only you've designed the form, but you've also designed the way they're thinking about a particular problem. So a checklist makes you go down a certain road, and checklists are very valuable in certain instances, but not all. Sometimes you just want whatever that person is thinking about a certain problem. But with qualitative data, the problem becomes, okay, what do we do with that now? AI really opens up the doors for saying, okay, we've got that unstructured data, and we can now categorize it, classify it, and make it useful.
Yes, I completely agree. Yes, David, thank you so much for this showcase and for wonderful answers. I really think the viewers or subscribers to AR Construction News will find this very interesting. And you also, I remember talking to you a few months ago. You also developed some kind of other workflows, had some new interesting ideas regarding AI safety podcasts and everything. So you have always experimented with. You have always experimented with some new stuff in new processes, new technologies in order to automate some of the boring tasks, to help you deliver some reports more faster with better quality and everything. So it's always interesting to hear your new ideas and and tools that you developed. And I think for our viewers, the one takeaway could be to also try to experiment with new tools, with new models, and try to come up with new and interesting solutions to your everyday problems. And who knows, you might struck a gold problem and develop a tool around it and help you alleviate a bunch of boring and tedious stuff.
Yeah, I really encourage people to use AI in pursuit of things that they find interesting. And if you can do that, it becomes very engaging, because it's a creative process. So yes, thank you for your time, and this has been great talking to you.